Yeah, as far as why I keep doing it, I just, you know, this is, as you know, this is my 20th, I'm winding up my 20th year. And I really don't think anybody's ever put up and done it for 20 years. So I understand the question, but I honestly, I really enjoy the job. We got some of the finest people, workers in this county. I'd put up against any county in the state. We've really got some dedicated people. I'm close to a lot of them. I think the world of a lot of them. I enjoy working with them. So it's just something that I enjoy. Now, look, everything comes to an end, and my time will certainly come to an end one way or the other. But you know, if in fact I'm reelected, obviously this would be my last hoorah, but I wouldn't do it no more. I'm 60, I'll be 68 in February. I've got 9 grandchildren, so I got plenty of things. I have 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and I got plenty to keep me busy if I decide, whenever I decide to give this up, however. You know, I was at this ribbon cutting at the library the other day, and they were talking about that. They were just tickled to death about the money we had spent and with the type of library and all the advancements we've made there. And I said, you know, for a little county, I don't know how we do it, but it seems like, you know, we got one of the finest libraries anywhere around. You can go out to Wharton. We have one of the nicest recreational facilities anywhere you'll go, even in the big cities. That's second to none. Our IT people have been summoned to Capitol Hill to try to explain how we got this high-speed internet throughout the county. So if you want to market Kent County and look at Kent County, there's plenty to be proud of, and you know, it's a great place. And every day, I always tell people, the day that something happens to me, don't feel sorry for me, because I think I've had the greatest life anybody in the world to be able to grow up here. Crime, look, I mean, what a great place to live. So I don't understand the unhappiness in Kent County. I can understand the unhappiness in some areas, in your cities and stuff, where things seem to be spiraling out of control, but not in Kent County. It's a beautiful place. 7th election that I've run for. I won 5 and I lost 1 back in 2002. And you know what the biggest issue was then? All out there to the Wharton area, Bo Figgy and some of these people were developers. They were buying up some of that farmland, and Wharton is a growth area. That's where we have our schools and stuff. It's a designated growth area, and they were buying up some property to turn it into housing developments, and people were in an outrage. What are you going to do? How are we going to stop this? How are we going to control the growth? Because it's getting ready to be wide open, and that was a big issue. And I lost an election over that. That was one of the issues. That wasn't the only issue probably, but it was one of the issues. And I just, and now here we are. We're complaining now because we don't have the growth. I've been here long enough. I can tell you, economic development in Kent County, it's a struggle to try to generate things like that. I've been through about 5, maybe 6 economic development directors. Some people I think that know Kent County very well. Mr. Elmer Horsey was our economic development director at one time, years ago. We've had several. Mike Wall, all these people. We had people that, but it's always been the same. We're like at a dead end. You know, you have to come off when you travel through Kent County, you're either heading for Kent County or you're really, really lost, one or the other. I mean, you're not passing through Kent County. It's now up on 301, 291 corridor up there before you get into Millington. We've redone our comp plan to make that a growth area up there where there will be no question if somebody comes there and says, we want to do this or that, we're open for business up there. We've put the right wording in place. I personally worked with a man by the name of Mr. Richardson, who has got big plans for that area and developing it, thinking that there's going to be some spillover from the Middletown area, and we're going to make sure that that area is prepared for it. If you think about when you leave Delaware Line, the only place that you can be developed between Delaware Line and Queenstown in Queen Anne's County is that interchange right there, and it's got three things going for it. It's got the high-speed internet goes through there, it's got water and sewer, and one thing that's just as important as anything else is it's got service roads on both sides. One of them used to go down to the Howard Johnsons, and the other one, there's one on this side. You can't get exits and entrances off of 301. So where you're going to have to use what's there, but you're going to have service roads. All three of those things are in place there. There's people buying up land to develop it with some big plans, and we think that that will be the next area that you'll see some growth in Kent County. Actually, air maintenance of effort has not, it could have went down. We don't let it go down. Even though we're losing students, that would drive our maintenance of effort or per pupil costs down. But we've maintained the level of funding. We are 4th out of 24 jurisdictions, 23 counties in Baltimore City. We are 4th in per pupil investment, the cost per pupil. In the last, our teacher salaries are 15th. We're in 15th place as far as the salaries. 3rd out of the 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, we're in 3rd place. Sometimes you hear things, you got to go research it and find out if it's true. We've been told at one time that we were in rock bottom. Well, we're not at rock bottom. We're in 15th place out of 24. 3rd on the shore out of 9 counties. That's not something you should be ashamed of. The teachers union of the state of Maryland holds us up on a pedestal because we're 4th from there's only 3 counties in the state of Maryland that invest more money per pupil than we do. In the last 9 years, we've closed down 3 schools. That's a job loss for some people, maintenance people, cafeteria people, but we've cut expenditures by closing 3 schools. We've lost 214 students, but we've still managed to maintain this funding for the per pupil cost. Now, you know, there's some problems with the education system. You know, some of the questions I think they should be asking, instead of how much money we can throw at it, how come people are taking their kids out of our school system and putting them in private schools? There's a question that needs to be answered. How come we're 4th from the top in funding, but our test scores are lagging way behind? And that's all I'll say about it. But Queen Anne's County, their funding level, they're in 22nd out of 24 places. They're in 22nd. We're at 4th. Now when you go look at the test scores, they're up here and we're down here. I understand that we're a rural county, and look, we went through that whole school bus debacle, which really ripped the county apart at one time. I mean, it was really getting ugly. And but then when that all blew up in everybody's everybody's face, I mean, I don't think anybody thought that was a good idea to do away with the way we run our buses, but they did, and then they wanted to blame us because we weren't giving them enough money. But then they turn around and they go out and they buy 13 brand new buses. They never come to us for another dime. Obviously they had the money to do that. So this whole money issue, I think it's been thrown out there, and some people dig their heels in with it, and once they do, that's the end of it. You're not going to change their minds. We could sit around here and argue about it all day long, but I think the school system this year, we've hired 3 new social workers for the. They have the money to put 3 new social workers. I mean, we are adding to our system, and we're gaining. You know, we're doing little extra things all the time. The other part of a population is we're becoming an older population now. The idea that we're losing our young people, it's causing more problems than just the school system, because now we don't have this large number of people to draw from to do the volunteer work at our fire companies and our ambulance services. We're running into a real problem there. When I first started as a commissioner, all of our ambulances and fire services were totally voluntary. They run them by volunteers. We were spending something over $1 million a year and giving it to our fire companies' ambulances. Then the volunteers started dropping. We started adding paid people. My first term in office, we started out with 1/2 of a paramedic. It was John Longus. He was a deputy sheriff here, and he was also a paramedic. And he was designated as a paramedic. Ever since then, we've been building on that and building on that to try to help these ambulances get out. There's nothing upsets me worse than when the ambulance whistle goes off and it has to blow and blow and blow, because somebody needs it. It's not the volunteers' fault. They're just strapped so tight with not many young people getting into the business. So we've had to supplement it. We now spend well over $1.5 million in addition to the $1 million we were already spending in putting paid people in these departments. And we just put 3 more EMTs on, just hired 3 new ones this year. I watched that the video about SOS come in, and they said that all we did was give everybody the same thing they had last year. That's just nonsense. I mean, we've added a lot of things to what we didn't have last year. Those 3 EMTs being one of the things. Well, I think to me, I think the handwriting is on the wall that one of these days, well, let me just say this. This is what I think they have in mind, is having these, the idea is to have this emergency facility that people can go to get stabilized, and then if you have serious illness, they take you to this big hospital. How you find a balance to at least have enough beds and stuff left in Chestertown to be able to do some of the smaller operations and things. I mean, obviously we're not going to be doing open heart surgery in Chestertown, that's for sure, but there are some things that we do here that works just fine. So we would like to see there be some kind of a balance there to maintain some beds so that not everybody has to drive for an hour or so to get to a hospital. I tell you another thing, that if we lose our hospital and everybody is going to be transported, then look at the man hours that takes for an ambulance. You get a call down Rock Hall now or Galena, ambulance picks them up, brings them into Chestertown. Are we going to have to, now those same people that are giving up an hour or 2 a day to come pick you or me up with problems, and they're willing to give up an hour or 2 as a volunteer? Are they going to give up 4 or 5 hours to take them to someplace else? It's really going to make it difficult for us to deal with something like that. So I hope in the long run we can find a balance to where we can at least keep some beds here like we do now, and to take care of some of the smaller problems. And we have the DCT busing service. It's certainly not the answer to all these transportation issues, but it is a start. And I think, and one of my questions, that was a question that I was asked once before, and my thing is, I don't know it's going to be an expensive thing if we try to really do it right on our own. My hopes would be, and this is something we've never done, really roll our sleeves up, bring DCT to the table with us, and we have something to start with now. I think it would make more sense to really sit down with them and see how we could build on that and make it better, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting all over again. We at least have something in place. You can get on a bus in Rock Hall and you can get to Easton if you want to. I mean, 5 hours. That's one of your issues, is the time it takes to get there. So can we bring them to the table? Can we figure out how to do it in 2 hours or instead of 5? Then I think that's the route we need to take, and I would certainly be willing to investigate that, bring them in. Santa Grande has won all kind of awards in this. He oversees this along with a lot of other things that they're involved in. But I know he would be willing to come in and hear where problems were, and maybe we could work. You know, it would be a lot easier, even if we had to contribute some more money. It would be much cheaper to contribute a little extra than to start the thing all over again. Well, the only thing I would say about the idea of being a commissioner, I hope that some of the people that get or that want the job don't look at it as a job where you go in on a Tuesday and you say yay or nay on 2 or 3 things and you go home. I mean, there's an enormous amount of time and effort that goes into representing Kent County the way that we're doing today. I mean, we're all involved in a lot of things. That Clean Chesapeake Coalition that deals with the cleaning up of the Chesapeake Bay, I've been the point man for the 7 counties since its inception, and the amount of time that we spend in things like that, I hope everybody realizes the time that we as commissioners put into it. I'll bet you without a question, and I'm very fortunate that the town of Rock Hall allows me to do it. I bet you I spend almost as much time with problems of the county as I do with the town of Rock Hall. Now, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's at least 1/3 of my day is dealing with county issues, and the other 2/3 maybe with the town of Rock Hall. But it's a real investment of people's time and effort, and the longer you're in it, and look, nothing prepares you for being a county commissioner. You can go to any school you want. It doesn't make any difference which one it is. There's nothing that teaches you to be a county commissioner. You get that on-the-job training. No one can be expected to have all the answers, but what you do learn the longer you're in there is where to go to find those answers. What department do I go to help this individual? Who's at the top, who's at the bottom? That's the whole structure, and it's very, very complicated. I'll be the first to admit that the first year I was a commissioner was a tough year, because you got that all to learn, and it's not easy, but as people think it is. Right. So, well, but I've enjoyed doing it because, look, there's a lot that people may not like about me, and that's okay. But the one thing that they can't ever say, none of them can say, is that I deliberately ever tried to do anything to harm anybody. There's people comes in to see me on a daily basis that probably aren't my favorite people, but I never treat anybody any different. They're there for help, and I do my best to try to help them. And I took on that critical area commission 2 or 3 weeks ago in the paper, and we made a little bit of difference there. And I think some of my constituents were being, in my opinion, mistreated by the state. That's the critical area, state critical. That's their law. The state runs that. We are in charge with the enforcement. I think we need to have a little more ability to see things a little different once in a while and make some changes. And quite frankly, if they don't give that to us, I think it would be a good idea to let them do their own enforcement and us get out of it, because my people are catching the devil for enforcing some of this, my opinion, ridiculous stuff. So we're fighting some of that, and we're making some headway, and I feel good about it.